streets alone, with the bottle in my hand. It makes me feel complete, makes me feel like a real man. Every time I see your face.
Because that's not very prominent.
Well, you know, I was going to ask, I mean, we went through the why guitar part, but at what point in your life did the transition occur where you went from, because in the beginning you were surrounded by top 40, and now all of a sudden you're surrounded by hardcore metal. Like, where did that transition occur?
I'll be honest,
what ushered it?
I always knew when I was younger, you know, and coming up in, you know, those years, I wasn't hearing on the radio or through other avenues of, you know, highways that led to my brain, you know, where whoever I was hanging with, I wasn't getting the heavy stuff. And I knew there was more there.
You wasn't understanding it, or you weren't hearing what was out there?
I wasn't hearing the heavy stuff. I wasn't hearing the Venoms and the, you know, a couple of years, like, you know, I want to say maybe like the heaviest shit up till like 1983 that I had heard and everybody in my neighborhood was listening to was Merciful Fate. You know, we got a hold of that record, you know, and was fucking, you know, the first one and everybody was tripping on that motherfucker, and then it got worse from there. I don't know how it could get worse from there, but it did.
And so what do you call in heavier shit? Is it thrash, like the intensity?
I remember, like the intensity, man. Like, you know, you would hear rock bands like, dude, like, here's a good example. I mean, fucking the 70s, I'm in the back seat of the car, you know, the Impala, as a kid playing around, and they're driving, and fucking Wayward Son comes on the fucking radio in 1976. I'm hearing that, and I'm going, even at that young age, I'm going, that's a song, you know?
Yeah.
Queen, come on, the motherfucker, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody, they play that song, you know, in the 70s, and I'd be like, nah, that's getting a little closer to what, and then they fucking play Elton John, and I'm like, that's not it, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so I always knew that. And I kept saying to myself as I grew up, like, if I don't hear it happening, I'm going to try and create it. But then, you know, like I said, man, people in the neighborhood started coming around with records, man. I mean, I remember standing in front of my buddy's stereo, man, with the fucking record spinning to fucking Kill 'Em All, man, when it first came out, first day. And I'm standing there just with my fucking jaw to the ground. I'm like, okay, it's like that, you know? Okay, I knew this existed. And I knew we could go to places and do, you know, and get extreme. I just didn't know that, like, I didn't realize how extreme it was, you know. All the imagery, the Satanism, the fucking, a lot of motherfuckers in my neighborhood was like, hey, fuck all of this. You got me at Satan, man. Fuck all of that. You know?
I wouldn't expect you to feel like you had met your match, because it sounds like you were trying to up the ante because you didn't know where the ledge was up until that point.
Yeah. I struggled for a couple of years, you know. We had the Van Halens and Iron Maiden and shit, but I'm like, where is because it wasn't like today, man. You know, you would have to walk. There was no import section at Warehouse Records and Tapes in the 70s and 80s. There wasn't. So you know, there was no opportunity to just go buy a Merciful Fate album right out the bin and go, oh, this looks fucking like it could be heavy. You know, it just didn't exist. So when you heard music, man, you heard it from an older dude that had it down the street.
Somebody else's collection.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he would only let a few motherfuckers hear it because it'd be hollering a bunch of Satan shit on fucking murder, people getting murdered in the music, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I always knew that you know, if I didn't hear it, I was going to push it. And even when I did hear that, okay, this is acceptable, and I liked it, you know, and I liked what I was hearing, I still wanted to up it, you know?
Acceptable.
Yeah. You know, acceptable to the degree of
it still makes it out on a record to your house.
Well, no, I'm an extreme guy. I push the envelope no matter what the fuck we're doing left. We're gonna sit here and drink bourbon. Like, if we're here longer than an hour, you're not gonna make it home. If that's the kind you want to do these, we're gonna do a couple of these. We're gonna, you know, everything is extreme. If I'm into something, dude, I'm into it all the fucking way, and it's just how I am. And I'm not just picking and choosing like, oh, I'm only like that with music. It's with everything. So yeah, I knew I was going to push it, you know, but I didn't really realize that I could write fucking songs until I was about 16, you know.
Really? And by that point, you were already in a band of your own.
I was in a band called. Thank you, sir. That's my attorney. He's getting me some more bourbon. I was in a band. It was funny because I was loitering in a bar room in Fat City, probably 16, wasn't supposed to be there. And Andy Villafara, first bass player for Exhorter, comes waltzing across the bar, playing his forearm. Okay, like an air bass. Thank you, sir. And I'm like, look at this fucking guy, man. This guy, he's weirding me out, man. You know, he's in my face, and he's like, the music's loud as fuck. And he goes, hey, man, my name's Andy. And he puts his hand. I say, hey, man, I'm Vince. You know, he's like, I play in a fucking band. We're playing at the Showboat around the fucking corner. Why don't you come check it out fucking tomorrow night? I'm like, cool. So he's just drumming up fucking business, you know. So I took a fucking hike down there, watched them and shit. That cover band was, they were playing Raven covers, fucking Metallica covers, all kind of heavy shit, man. They were playing all kind of shit. And I was like, okay, well, this is not like the cover band down the street I was just saw last week that was playing, you know, Rat and shit. And, you know, because I never did like it. Never did like the hair metal thing. Never went through.
Speaking of acceptable.
Right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, went and saw him. And eventually they had a problem with a guitar player that they had. And Andy knew that I played. And he's like, look, man, I'll tell the guys you want to try out for this band. It's like, yeah, I'll try out. David Main gave me 10 songs or so to learn and a week to do it. And fucking, we had a rehearsal. Boom, you're in. So that's kind of where it started for me. So, by that time I was about 17 years old, you know, fresh and playing my first show, you know, with them.
At that time, what was the attitude towards cover bands versus original bands? Because that's a fence.
Yeah.
You know?
Back then, man, like, there was no fucking line. Like, everything was a cover band. And some of the cover bands, like, that were playing, they had a couple of originals. And even the one I was in, you know, with Andy and David, he had like 3 original songs or something that they would throw in the set. But if you played fucking 4 hours that night,
you were gonna have to have something to throw out there. Yeah,
right. So people didn't give a fuck about your original music in Metairie and in that genre of, you know, the cover band thing, you know. They didn't care, man. The chicks just wanted to go see fucking dudes with puffy hair and fucking, you know, sausages stuffed in their spandex, you know.
Sure.
So you know, they could do that on every block. So what I realized was though, we would start going uptown and hanging out up there. And that was where the fucking punk and the hardcore scene was. And
this was new to you?
Well, yeah, I remember walking out there for the first time, man, like going to Jed's. It was on Oak Street, on Maple. One of those fucking streets, right down the street from Jimmy's Music Club.
Yep.
And that's where they would have the punk and hardcore activity weekends and shit. That was basically where we'd all go. So Circle Jerks played, Black Flag, fucking, I got to see all them bands, their Kennedys and shit. And we would go over there and start hanging over there and noticing, whoa, this is a totally different world. Not only musically, but you don't play cover songs out here. You know, no band gets up there and plays another fucking a Black Flag song.
Right.
You would probably get tomatoes thrown at you. You know,
right.
You had to be an original thing, offering something to the scene, being part of the culture, and growing it.
And it's so, I mean, I get that. I get that would stand out to you, but at the same time, seeing that whole scene for the first time, you still picked up on that sifting through. Because it's a new scene, like you said, you're seeing a whole lot of different shit. You're listening to a different style of music. I mean, what was your experience with punk music before you even saw it live? I
had experience with it because through metal, we learned that punk kind of, and hardcore basically existed, and that's what influenced thrash metal.
Okay.
So
you had respect for it before you got there.
Exactly. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, well, let me investigate. And there was a little show, because we had the WTUL, if you remember that shit, the little basement over there by Tulane on the campus. They got a station over there, and back in those days, they had a hardcore night on Friday, and then they would do a metal show on Saturday night. And the two brothers that ran it, one became the the DA of fucking Jefferson Parish. The other one, we see Steve every now and then, you know. But anyway, one brother would do the hardcore night and one brother would do the metal night. So we would go fucking down there and barge in, you know, and just bring a keg of beer, fucking Coke, you know, just do whatever. And we just go down to the basement and just watch this motherfucker spin records, get on the radio, fuck around, you know. And we were learning about all these bands, man. We're just pulling records and just looking at shit and fucking, hey, try this, man, you know. And through that experience is really kind of what built Exhorder, or, you know, my first band, real band, more than anything. More than any other experiences that I had, you know, growing up or anything.
Yeah.
You know.
And you're citing that as your sort of intro to hardcore music at its essence, I guess punk and hardcore music at its essence.
Pretty much, yeah.
Preceding live.
Correct. That was before Exhorder ever dreamed of playing a show. But Exhorder wasn't even a thing, and I'm going out to hanging out uptown, and every now and then some of the uptown guys would come see all old bullshit fucking cover band in Metairie, you know. Come over there. They come over by by the lake, over by Stan's Hard Rock Cafe back in the day. And, you know, Hatch and used to be with Shell Shock. And his brother, they come out to Metairie and see us, and then we go see them. So we had friends, you know, and they didn't give a fuck that we were, you know, we were doing our thing over here. I think they knew eventually we were going to join them. Well, at least I was, you know, because it just never, Metairie started feeling, it was just stale, dude. Everybody was playing the same fucking songs. I didn't want to be in a cover band to begin with. I just needed a foot in, you know. I needed a leg into, you know, to get to know people, network, and you know, I mean, the first seedlings of Exhorder came out of that band. You know?
Yeah.
Me, Andy, and David Main.
And what did you think about, I guess, the non-acceptance of cover music in any form in that scene?
I didn't, you know, I agreed with it because, you know, at the risk of throwing my old man under the bus, you know, it's like, dude, you're going to make a career playing other, look, I don't knock people that do it, and there's a lot of people that do it for a living. It's hard fucking work. I tried it once, man. Like, a buddy of mine fucking texted me a couple of years back, and he's like, hey man, I'm in a jam. I'm putting together a new cover band, dude. Can you help me out? I got everything. Got the horn section. I got everything. I just don't have a guitar player yet. I got 3 shows booked, a fucking wedding. I was like, okay, man, just don't tell nobody I fucking did. You know? So, dude, this motherfucker handed me 150 songs, man. I got like fucking 2 weeks, you know? And I'm like, dude, it's no joke. What they do is serious business.
It is.
And I respect them.
It is respectable.
But
honestly,
to me, back then, as a young, angstful asshole that was, you know, I just felt like, why am I going to spend the rest of my years playing other people's music? I need to get to a level where I'm writing my own music, no matter if people like it or not. You know?
Well, you know, it's I don't know how to put it these days. I mean, it's kind of a gray area because I see a lot of bands that's kind of their building blocks or their learning steps. You know, I mean, I think that's natural in the progression of any musician. Is you start emulating the bands that you appreciate and revere, and then from there, some of them move on to original work, and some of them stick with the covers. And then, but my point is that you don't have just cover bands or just original music bands these days. There's a lot of bands that are cover bands that they've been writing their own stuff on the side,
right? And
they're going to start sprinkling it in here and there, and they're going to use cover material as another stepping stone, just like, you know, a young teen would use cover material to get it to cut his teeth. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's kind of
so they're doing the same.
It's a rite of passage. It is respectable, and it's a rite of passage.
Exactly.
You know.
So they're pretty much doing the same thing I did when I was a kid. You know, I started there, but I wanted to ease out, man, and get a couple of originals out there, and then eventually, man, I just couldn't. You know, there was things that I couldn't do that was required for me to do in that genre of the cover world that I just didn't feel right about doing, like wearing too much makeup and you know, the spandex thing, man, like Jesus, you know. So, you know, look, to be honest, man, I'll be straight. We were one of the first bands to, well, not. I mean, I was one of the first guys like to deviate from the system.
Sure.
You know, and I was kind of frowned upon, you know, and you know, it caused a lot of beefs, you know. But I was like I said, I was an asshole, man, and I'd make fun of guys, and you know, for doing it after a while because they were making fun of me for hanging out with the punks. And I'm like, man, fuck off, you know. So it got to be a you know, a lifestyle kind of thing, you know, like you know, I'm willing to whip your ass over this shit, the kind of shit now. That's how deep, you know, we were into this, man. Like, if you talked bad about Exhorter in the 80s, you may not be around today talking about it no more, dude. I'm serious. We were fucking assholes, man.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I just couldn't do certain things, you know, and still feel like a real man, you know. So I had to get out of that gig, you know, just like, I'm getting out of here. If y'all two want to fucking come on, you know, and they did, you know, and we, you know, I felt more at home, you know, doing it.
He's my attorney too.
Your turn.
Yeah. We'll work on the double indemnity, non-disclosure, gag order agreement thing later.
Double indemnity.
Yeah, whatever that is. Okay.